Namo Amida Buddha. The benefits of being born in the pure land of Amida Buddha. In order to help my Dharma companions to awake aspiration for the pure land, I will explain further the benefits of being born there. These should be read and contemplated in contrast with the previous descriptions of the sufferings of samsara, and with the rest of the four thoughts that turn the mind towards Amida Dharma, the preciousness of human birth, impermanence and death, and karma, the law of cause and effect. But before I enter into the details of this topic, we must remember a few key points. First of all, the goal of Buddhism is to become a Buddha. It is not to paint this life in different colors. It is not to become a smart or interesting kind of Buddhist, but to become a Buddha. The Buddhist path is not a method of relaxation or a tablet for a headache, something like how can we become happier and calmer people, or a recipe for momentary happiness, but a road to Buddhahood or complete freedom for us and all sentient beings. It is of utmost importance for those who enter the Buddhist path to have the aspiration to become a Buddha. Without this aspiration, there is no Buddhism. If we don't want or don't feel the urgency of complete freedom from the many sufferings of repeated births and death, then Buddhism will remain for us only an object of study, an interesting lecture of mythology, or an intellectual delight. There are, so to speak, two visions one can have about himself and the world. The first is the ordinary vision depending on one's cultural education or daily concerns, and the other is the Dharmic vision. The first represents what is considered normal in various times, containing limited explanations of the world and almost no interest in the meaning of human existence or in something which is beyond the present life. The immediate utilitarianism is fundamental in the non-Dharmic vision of the world. On the other hand, the Dharmic vision perceives the world and personal life through the perspective of the Buddhist teaching or Dharma, where everything is explained in terms of the preciousness of human birth, impermanence, the law of karma, and the suffering inherent in all the samsaric realms of existence. That is, the four thoughts. Also, what is truly important is defined in a different way than immediate utility, and the attainment of freedom from samsara for us and all beings is considered to be supreme. By reading, listening, and deeply reflecting on the explanations offered by the Dharma about the world and our existence, one comes to understand why it is necessary to become a Buddha. By engaging more and more in the study of the Dharma, and by deeply understanding the four thoughts, we reach the point when we receive the so-called Dharmic vision or Dharma eye. Then many of our mental constructions that we consider to be solid and unbreakable will break down, and the world will start to empty itself of the false colors projected on it and taken as the true reality. Walking the Buddhist path with the aspiration to become a Buddha and having the Dharmic vision on our side, we become more intimate with our own karma. That is, we start to know ourselves better, and especially our spiritual limitations. At this stage, the awareness of our spiritual limitations in comparison with the effort of becoming a Buddha is extremely important and especially emphasized in Jodo Shinshu. As I already explained in the various sections of the four thoughts, nothing is permanent in samsara, especially our so-called spiritual achievements. Thus, everything we think we attain now can be gone in the next few hours, days, or months, because our mental states are always changing. As death may come at any moment, we really do not have time for the so-called spiritual evolution, and the influence of our habitual karma from aeons of living in the darkness of delusions and blind passions is always at work to hinder our most noble aspirations. When we reach the point where we wish to escape samsara, but realize it is impossible to do it through our own power and limited capacities, we may become ready to accept Amida Buddha's helping hand that is extended to us and all beings. If we listen deeply to Amida's simple message of salvation, entrust to him, say his name in faith, and wish to be reborn in his pure land, we will finally arrive at the end of our insane journey in samsara. This means that we become assured of birth in the pure land of Amida, and after we die, we'll be reborn there and attain perfect enlightenment. By fully understanding the four thoughts as they were explained in this book, we easily come to accept the three pillars of Jodo Shinshu. That is, 1. We aspire to attain Buddhahood, or perfect enlightenment. 2. We realize our limitations and the impossibility of attaining this goal through our own power. And 3. We entrust to Amida Buddha in order to attain Buddhahood in his special enlightened realm, where, unlike our samsaric environment, everything there is conducive to enlightenment. Faith, or Shinjin, as it is understood in Jodo Shinshu, contains this twofold profound conviction, Nishu Jinshin. 1. We know that we are persons of deep karmic limitations, incapable of attaining Buddhahood through our own power. And 2. We know that only Amida Buddha can save us through his vow power without asking anything from us. To aspire to become a Buddha is fundamental, but this aspiration remains just an unfulfilled desire, like many others, if our personal capacities cannot lead us to this goal. It is not necessary to become a saint or some kind of special person in order to have the aspiration to become a Buddha, but to be successful in attaining Buddhahood, we'll need efforts and qualities infinitely greater than our ordinary capacities. So, in the moment we realize that it is impossible to attain this state through our own power, we are ready to hear the message of the primal vow of Amida Buddha. It is very important to understand that Jodo Shinshu doesn't require us to consider ourselves incapable in our daily activities, but only in matters of attaining supreme liberation. To become a Buddha is not the same thing as being a good electrician, businessman, or anything we want in our private life. Such a difference should be very well discerned. Thus, these things being considered, let's talk in more detail about the benefits of being born in the Pure Land. Where do we learn about these benefits? First, from Amida Buddha himself, as he promised in many of his vows that we'll experience them after being born in his Pure Land. Second, from Shakyamuni Buddha, who made great efforts to convince us about the existence of Amida Buddha and his Pure Land, by telling the story of Amida, describing his enlightened realm whenever he had the occasion, and by showing both of them to Ananda and the audience gathered on Vulture Peak. Third, from the masters of our lineage and other lineages, who also taught about the various benefits of being born there. In order to show that people must accept the existence of Amida Buddha and his enlightened realm, where we should aspire to be born, Shakyamuni Buddha revealed them to his audience when he taught the larger sutra. Here is what happened. Quote, the Buddha said to Ananda, rise to your feet, rearrange your robes, put your palms together, and respectfully revere and worship Amitayus, or Amida Buddha. Ananda stood up, rearranged his robes, assumed the correct posture, faced westward, and demonstrating his sincere reverence, joined his palms together, prostrated himself on the ground, and worshipped Amitayus. Then he said to Shakyamuni Buddha, world-honored one, I wish to see that Buddha, his land of peace and bliss, and its hosts of bodhisattvas and shravakas. As soon as he had said this, Amitayus emitted a great light, which illuminated all the Buddha lands, the encircling adamantine mountains, Mount Sumeru, together with large and small mountains, and everything else shone with the same golden color. That light was like the flood at the end of the period of cosmic change that fills the whole world, when myriads of things are submerged, and as far as the eye can see there is nothing but the vast expanse of water. Even so was the flood of light emanating from Amitayus. All the lights of the Shravakas and Bodhisattvas were outshone and surpassed, and only the Buddha's light remained shining bright and glorious. At that time, Ananda saw the splendor and majesty of Amitayus resembling Mount Sumeru, which rises above the whole world. There was no place that was not illuminated by the light emanating from his body of glory. The four groups of followers of the Buddha in the assembly saw all this at the same time. Likewise, those of the Pure Land saw everything in this world. Then the Buddha said to Ananda and Bodhisattva Maitreya, have you seen that land filled with excellent and glorious manifestations, all spontaneously produced from the ground to the heaven of the pure abode? Ananda replied, yes, I have. The Buddha asked, "Have you also heard the great voice of Amida expound the Dharma to all the worlds, guiding sentient beings to the way of the Buddha?" Ananda replied, "Yes, I have." The passage is clear and cannot be misinterpreted. Ananda asked Shakyamuni to see Amida and his Pure Land. "I wish to see that Buddha, his land of peace and bliss." And then he actually saw him. Ananda saw the splendor and majesty of Amida. In fact, not only him, but all those gathered there on Vulture Peak to listen to the larger sutra saw Amida and the Pure Land. The four groups of followers of the Buddha in the assembly saw all this at the same time. Both those in this world and those in the Pure Land saw each other. Likewise, those of the Pure Land saw everything in this world. No sincere follower and reader of the above lines can possibly misinterpret what happened there. The revelation of Amida Buddha and his land really took place, and the audience literally saw them before their very eyes. There is no hidden, metaphorical, or symbolical meaning in this. I repeat, the audience literally saw them before their very eyes. Anybody who tells you that you should not take into consideration this vision of Amida and his land, as it was described in the sutra, is a person who lacks faith and who's consciously or unconsciously deceiving you. So please stay away from such people. Not only that, Shakyamuni showed Amida Buddha and the Pure Land to the audience, but he also asked them to confirm what they saw and heard. Quote, "Have you seen that land filled with excellent and glorious manifestations, all spontaneously produced?" To this Ananda replied, "Yes, I have." "Have you also heard the great voice of Amida?" Ananda also replied, "Yes, I have." End quote. Why do you think Shakyamuni Buddha asked them to confirm what they just saw and heard? Why did he insist to hear Ananda say with his own mouth, "Yes, I have seen," and "Yes, I have heard"? It is because he wanted all beings, including us, disciples of later generations, to accept Amida as a real Buddha and his land as a real enlightened place where we should wish to go after death. It is for our sake that he told the story of Amida Buddha and enabled the audience to see him and his land. Quote, "I've expounded this teaching, or sutra, for the sake of sentient beings and enabled you to see Amida or Amida and all in his land. Strive to do what you should. After I've passed into nirvana, do not allow doubt to arise." End quote.